Happy to be joined now by Doug Brinkley. He's a presidential historian and a professor of history at Rice University. He's also the author of the Nixon tapes. So I'd love to get your take on this because, you know, we get all in the minutia of the night. And then there's you, who's a presidential historian, who puts it all into perspective of who we were, who we're becoming, and who we were tonight and what we're going to be tomorrow. And with all of those things in mind, what do you make of what you saw?
I think Senator Warnock did a good job of convincing the nation why he's one of our better U.S. senators. He was very smart, very measured. The fact that he didn't go after Herschel Walker in an unseemly way. He seems to be an above-the-board player, and of course carries the great legacy of Ebenezer Baptist Church and Martin Luther King Jr. behind him. On the other hand, Herschel Walker, the media has kind of made him into a buffoonish figure, and it's been a cartoon painted of him, as if he can't answer his own questions and could just throw out little Georgia Bulldog footballs to crowds at fairgrounds. And in that regard, Herschel Walker held his own and did quite well. So the net effect is nationally, I think Senator Warnock probably won the debate in traditional terms, but Walker held his own. He was combative. He was like a gladiator in a calm way. And he may have helped himself, Walker, because he was hemorrhaging to make people think that he is a viable alternative to Warnock. And in the end, Georgia very well may be a red state, not a blue state. And so this is going to be a dead heat. And I think, and probably Herschel Walker helped himself this evening.
So well, and I am always still curious about whether we've just become parliamentary people, period. Who cares who the candidate is? Who cares what he or she did? Who cares what cookie jar maybe they raided at one point? We're just silo politics, period. And to that, I'd like to ask you if debates even matter anymore.
I think they matter, but I heard Chris Cuomo rightfully say we need more of them. I mean, this is not the Lincoln-Douglas debate. This was sort of a very short answers. The fact of the matter was it was enough for any of us. Anybody watching here could have rehearsed and probably done answers like this. So it wasn't a great memorable moment in that regard. But all eyes are on Georgia. And I think also, in addition to what you said about parliamentary, I mean, what about celebrity in America? I mean, one of the things with Ronald Reagan became president, then Donald Trump, do we elect celebrities? We're looking at Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania and Herschel Walker. What they're offering people is, I'm a celebrity. Will you vote for me? I'm already a household name, and it doesn't matter whether I don't have a political resume to speak of. You recognize me. And we'll have to see. I mean, these are Trump's two candidates, Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker, the two celebrity candidates. And right now, they're both behind. And the Democrats win in Pennsylvania and Georgia. That might warn people in the future not to put every celebrity up for office, because in the end they may come tumbling down.
You know, you took the next question right out of my mouth, whether it's all about populism now. And I was going to ask you if the toothpaste is out of the tube. I think it is. I don't know if it's ever going to be put back in. But I still hold my hopes out for the huge pocket of independence, you know, in this country. Some put it as high as 60% of us are independent. And I think, oh, good, they're going to watch everything. They're going to consume it. They're going to calculate and vote, you know, their conscience. And then I wonder, Doug, how many of those 60% are independent because they just don't give a damn about any of it and they're not listening to any of it?
Well, that's a good question. I would agree with your earlier premise. I think in this particular midterm, people are really voting blue or red. The problem that Walker had was he Looney Tunes or not? And I think tonight he showed, no, he isn't. And that's why I think that he helped himself. But we all hope we get back to a day of bipartisanship, civility, good governance, instead of just finger pointing and social media gone berserk in ugly kind of ways. Look, our political system on a federal level is broken. Our institutions are frayed. This is the big question, besides how is the economy, which is the big one, is can our democracy survive? I never would have thought that would be the #2 concern of the American people. Can democracy survive? So there's a lot of worry in the land and fear, and it doesn't feel right this midterm season. But in the end, we might be back to where we're at right now with pretty much a 50-50 Senate. But in Congress, which we're not talking about tonight, the Republicans seem to have their edge. So it's going to be more divided government, more gridlock. And President Biden's going to have to figure out a formula out of the inflationary times if he plans to run again in 2024 with hopes of becoming a two-termer.
We have a lot more to talk about then and in the next 3 weeks. So I hope you'll come back. Thanks, Doug Brinkley.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.